Hey all, this is O1 Boku, and
Lord Jackass at your service.
realized part of my hair is really comb. That's because I was on the wind and just got back from church since we're doing this. But yeah, we're coming at you with another review of Full Metal Alchemist, the original. I was going to say Brotherhood, but the original on episode 8, The Philosopher's Stone. But as you guys know, again, doing this in a bit of a different format. Jherick, you basically go ahead and give your thoughts since I gave my thoughts on this episode and the short review.
Let's see, the philosophy. There was a lot to go through for this, and of course, to start off with, probably not going to come as a surprise to anybody, but we like this version of Barry better. This was a great Barry the Chopper episode, and God, I can't wait to see more of them. But first off, let's see. Oh, I keep forgetting to mention this with all the other ones we do. I love how in the intro, when you see Scar walking through the desert, there's like no plants or anything around him. And I told him this reminds me of Cain from the Bible, like how after he kills his brother, he's given the mark of Cain on his forehead and told by God, wherever you walk, no plants shall grow, and you shall be shunned by all of the righteous children of man, which the intro kind of emphasizes that. And again, with like Cain having the arm of his dead brother and being on this quest to just kill as many state alchemists as he can, kind of really makes you think, is Scar just the Cain for this, and Edward being the provincial Abel? But anyways, and I also love how they did that with like the ultimate devil summons in Castlevania Curse of Darkness. You get Cain, the Isaac gets Abel. But anyways, and of course, wouldn't be one of our reviews if we didn't mention Brad the Chad showing up and just basically stealing the show when he's spying in on the little conversation Hawkeye's having with Alphonse. Which again, I love how wonderful they handled Riza Hawkeye in this. Because normally you would think, oh, snipers, they're cold, they're detached, they're the no nonsense, no bullshit assholes who you really don't form relationships with. It's kind of a neat subversion of the whole trope to have it be a woman in love with her superior commander, no less, and who also is trying to more or less help these kids and soften the blow of war. Just adorable though to see Bradley just, oh, what's that fun thing you children are talking about?
Well, and see, to just add to that really quick, and like what you said, the reason, and also to add to Barry with what you said, what I like about this is we actually get to see Barry commit his crimes in a sense, and they get to experience it. In the manga and in Brotherhood, it's just like, oh, I was this notorious murderer, I was killed and then put in the suit of armor, and now I'm just a goofball for the rest of this thing. But with Bradley, and I still like how they handled it in this show, is that again, before even the first half of Brotherhood is over, and I believe it's the same thing in the manga. I think it's by volume 10 out of a 20 something or 30 something manga series. I forget how many volumes. You find out that Bradley right away is a homunculus. He's not, a real living human being. In this one, they play it much more subtly, that you're wondering why the Fuhrer, the king, would be taking such an interest in what Alphonse is saying. And what I like about it is, something is okay, but maybe there's actually a genuine reason for why he wants to help them. And that's what I liked about it, is the subtlety they go about it.
Yeah.
Because again, I actually liked him, and he actually plays it off. It's like, oh, it's good for youngsters to have dreams. Well, don't you agree, First Lieutenant?
In this one, there's actually a lot. It seems like there's much more direct interaction between Bradley and the boys. Because in the previous one, he just kind of shows up and he's just Brad. Yeah. But this one, it's you kind of get more of like get more of him just being there in that inexplicable way that only the most important man in the entire world could ever be.
Yeah.
But again, I love how Riza, you see her softer woman side whenever it's either, Roy Mustang, a.k.a. the fires of passion within her heart, or the boy. So again, it's a very nice touch, because, you can be military as fuck, but when you get off the battlefield, you're still a woman. You're still going to worry about kids and, the people around you.
Well, one to add to that too before you continue as well, the one thing that I went over in my short review was that, and I'm glad you mentioned Roy Mustang, because Roy Mustang is looking at everything they go through with Nia and everything in this episode as a military figure, as one would possibly think of befitting his station, which again makes sense. I mean, I don't mind that we don't see Roy breaking down all pale and tragic like he does in Brotherhood. In Brotherhood, don't get me wrong, the military thing is there too. But again, that's what I hate about Hughes dying so early, is he becomes a bit of a wreck with Hughes dying early. Well, in this one, you see more of him built. Plus, Hawkeye is more of the motherly figure that brings them all in. The person who is the sharpshooter, but has this level of compassion that is unbefitting of a military woman, but she'll bring it out when she needs to.
Well, and this is also something I like about this version of Riza and Roy, because it kind of reminds me of Batman and one of my favorite Robins, the Red Hood. Red Hood basically is the guy that Batman, he's kind of on the edge, but he knows he can have Red Hood. He can rely on the Red Hood to do the things he can't, to go to the places he can't, to talk to the people he can't. Red Hood kind of reminds me of what would be another great example? Of the Doctor and the Brigadier. The Doctor's a pacifist. He doesn't want to use guns. He doesn't want to kill if he can at all help it. But he knows he can count on the Brigadier to do what must be done, even if he himself is unwilling, which gets brought up in some of the greatest Doctor Who episodes of all time, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Riza is kind of the same way. Roy has to maintain the image of being this tough as nails, dead serious military commander. But he knows he can count on Riza to do all the stuff he wants to do, to be the heart, to be the compassion. It's kind of funny because, in a sense, like both in this series and in Brotherhood, you see that while Roy is definitely the guy, moving the chess pieces, it's pretty clear that just like in chess, he's the king. He's the most important piece, but he's also the hardest to play and the most useless piece. She's the queen, the most versatile and powerful piece, and only the second most powerful, and yet the one that can do the most. It's kind of a funny homage to that because, again, chess is the game of kings. And who is seeking to become a king? Roy Mustang. Who's his queen? Riza Hawkeye. And yes, this is my Lelouch v. Petrania moment. Don't get too used to it. I'm not going to be doing that shit. Seriously, I cannot pull off the obey, Lelouch, I command you. Not doing it. No. Anyways, and of course, one of my favorite moments, Winry just being the most adorable little tech nerd ever.
Mm-hmm.
The first sight of a refrigerated food truck, and the first thought on her mind is, God, I would love to take that thing apart and see how it works. Which, admittedly, I am guilty of this. When I first started working in a cafeteria, I was literally fascinated with those things. Seriously, we had those little push carts that had the heated side on one side and the refrigerated side on the other. Oh, that shit used to fascinate me. And not to mention, this also, again, is the scene that really highlights the difference between Brotherhood Barry and Good Barry. Because this Barry, not only do you get to see him commit his crimes, you get to see how goddamn smart he is.
Psychotic, too.
Yeah, because, he's a skinny guy. He does a very convincing impersonation of a lady, which he uses to seduce one of the cooks in the mess hall, who he's, doing the ever so cute flirty to get the information to know just how much they realize about what he's doing.
Which, again, I'll interject really quickly here, Jherick, so they know. In Japanese, the female voice is a female voice, and then they switch over to the male actor, which you can obviously tell. Maybe you couldn't, but they admit in the credits it's a female voice doing Barry's voice. But in the English version, it's all Jerry Jewell. And I say, you can hear where Jerry Jewell is still a man. But I was telling Jherick that Jerry Jewell actually does play a convincing, maybe heavier-throated woman if she had a bit of a deeper voice with a bit of a squeak to it. Well, because he was very convincing as that. At least I think. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but...
And this may be me looking too much into it, but I noticed he picked the fattest, plumpest chef in the mess hall. which probably a calculated decision on his part because he's going to be the loneliest.
Yeah.
So having a cute little
I don't doubt you looking into that too much at all. That's probably how really played it.
So having a reasonably cute, slightly older woman give him a little bit of the flirty flirt was a very sharp call because if you're in the military, the mess hall is one of the best places to try to get information you're not supposed to have access to. People get a little bit more relaxed in the mess hall.
Yeah. Well, seeing you caught on to that because you weren't the only one who saw that too. Because I knew right away upon watching it. I probably never noticed it before, but yeah, the cook is smitten with her. He likes her. You can tell. You just imagine, I was smitten with a man.
Oh yeah, it's a man, baby. But not only that, I mean, it's a brilliant cover for a serial killer. Being the guy who delivers the meat because they're going to be a lot less concerned about the people who bring the food, just by necessity. Which also kind of leads into the obvious joke, but hey, Edward, how did you enjoy meeting the butcher of Fleet Street in Fullmetal Alchemist? Fancy a shave? Yeah, for those of you who get that joke, good on you. Great Johnny Depp movie, by the way. Sweeney Todd, for those of you who don't get it.
One that I need to re-see, because I still think that's
and
one
Sleepy
of
Hollow.
Well, Sleepy Hollow is an underrated film. Sweeney Todd, I think, I don't want to get into it, but I think that one's overrated, but that's me.
Well, I mean, again, it's Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, so, it is what it is.
True.
Anyways, but yeah, Winry just going full goofball on the food truck, which of course, gets her caught by Barry, which again, so sinister. But this again leads into the next part, the similarities between basically, Edward being the clever little shit he is because he only got told that somebody was here to see him. He did not get told specifically who it was. And yet, all he needed to do was see a loose screw that Winry had with her, probably from one of his automail repairs, looks at his arm and realizes it was Winry. And he's like trying to figure out where she went, and then he sees the tire tracks, and he's seen a set of footprints. He's like, hey, was there a truck here? It's like, oh yeah, we always have like a truck bringing the food to the mess hall. So of course he's, all the wheels are turning in the right direction. He knows Winry must be with whoever was delivering the food.
Well, yeah, and to reiterate that, the reason why Edward knew that is because Mace Hughes did him a solid in this episode and let him look at the files, because Roy Mustang wasn't going to let Edward get involved with this murder case, but Mace Hughes, being a friend to him, said, hey, I'll let you look at these files, and he's the one that deduced that the killer could be using refrigerated trucks, which he was right.
And again, it was another interesting scene where, we know Mace Hughes is a smart guy, but Barry using the guise of a woman who brings food clearly was the blind spot for Mace Hughes because, well, again, we got another wonderful scene of him being best dorky daddy ever. And, again, if you're a serial killer disguising yourself as like kids or women, that's always going to help you get in and out better. It's honestly why I kind of love like the Tenchu series when you get to play as like the girl.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh my god.
What are you doing?
Hockey.
I think I know what he wants, but I'll tell you after we're done.
Yeah. Somebody's being
well, he saw my shoes and he's like, oh, we're gonna go for a walk. No, not right now.
But let's see, what else? And this kind of leads to the ending now. This whole sequence where Edward tries to track down Winry. Well, of course, Barry, uses his female disguise to get the drop on him with a big hunk of meat. I mean, he gets clobbered with a nice rack of lamb. I know it sounds ridiculous, but trust me, frozen lamb hits like a bitch.
Well, frozen meat all too. I mean, I made the reference to it yesterday. All you need to do is see the first movie Rocky and probably even Rocky Balboa. See how Rocky messes up his hands hitting that dang thing, because that meat is a strong thing to hit unprocessed.
Nothing is over. Just give me something to drink. But yeah, it's so of course he gets a drop on Ed. Ed gets tied up. He takes off his arm, and it's just freaking amazing. Just this back and forth with him and Barry, because this is not the Yamcha Barry of like Brotherhood. This is bitch. Shit's gonna go down. I'm gonna kill you, and it's gonna be great. This is just straight up Fleet Street, butcher of Baxter Street, whatever serial killer you want. This guy's good. I mean, he was smart enough to take off his arm. He was listening to the rumors about this new kid who could transmute without a circle. So of course that's why he took the arm off. I mean, this is a guy who did his prep work. He had Winry tied up on one of the racks.
Yeah.
And
saying he was going to take her apart while Edward watched.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly a guy you do not fuck with. He knows what he's doing. He's clearly done this a lot. And it's actually kind of neat to see that, yeah, I mean, I love when he asked him, it's like, why would someone do such a thing? Why?
Because they can.
Now, granted, the butcher knife he has is a little bullshit, a little anime. I'd say the closest parallel you're ever going to get to that thing would probably be like one of those weaponized Portuguese butcher knives.
I think it was supposed to be since it was anime, a modified meat cleaver. Because, they usually don't look like that, but that's supposed to be the idea.
I mean, it could be like a very exaggerated, like weaponized butcher knife from like Portugal or maybe the Middle East, but I mean, a handguard that big on a butcher knife meant for cutting meat is kind of ridiculous. Well,
remember, serial killers like him, they would find their own methods or create their own methods of killing people, which I'm pretty sure he did.
It just kind of shows you this is a guy who's doing it, not to make a statement, not to be a social advocate. Hello, Joker. No, he's doing this just because it amuses him. It entertains him.
Well, like he said, his basis was that, deep down we all want to kill, and then he goes into people need society, this or that to tell him, but he's basically that's just it. He loves there really is no basis for him killing people other than he likes killing people, and obviously there probably is an attraction to women that he likes, and given sight, I'm gonna say, if anything, considering how he was always going after mothers or young women, I wouldn't doubt if they based Barry's killing, because in the manga they're so general with it, but in the anime I wouldn't doubt if they combined a little bit of Ted Bundy with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, actually, since since El Nestro is supposed to be an allegory for England, I think it might actually be the guy.
Oh, Jack the Ripper?
No. I think it's actually the guy who is the inspiration for the was it either London? One of the old children's rhymes is it's the one about pies. I forget what it is, but yeah, there was an actual nursery rhyme that was started because of a serial killer who was killing people and literally turning them into meat pies. I forget the name of the song, but you can look it up online.
Oh, well, remember, that was actually, it's not just a nursery rhyme. That's what one of the king's enemies did, I think, to one of the Germanic kings when he was encroaching on England. Because remember that whole thing that they do in Game of Thrones with the weddings or people eating other people. George R.R. Martin was basing it off real life stuff.
Yeah, so it's probably either a reference to that or, of course, our old friend Mr. Sweeney Todd, the closest of shays out on Fleet Street. But either way, it's interesting. And of course, Edward's escape from this, and indeed, this whole fight is perfect because again, he's only just barely joined the military. I mean, he hasn't really gone through all the training. He hasn't had his time with the absolute god of alchemy that is Izumi Curtis. So this is very much just a kid who's in way over his head, but a very clever kid.
Yeah. Plus that theme song they were playing, which is called Shingun. That's no Whistle and Dixie either. I love that theme. It's only about 1 minute and 37 seconds, but it's such a good song.
Because Barry made the mistake of leaving him with like the screw in his pocket, which he uses to make a circle to bust out of the ropes, and also to alchemize them into a sort of prototype spear. And get used to him doing that a lot too. By the way, he loves his spears. I approve. But aside from that, he's trying his best, but Barry has way more experience and. Frankly, he's just scared out of his mind. Also, he kind of did a nice little small cut into his shoulder earlier, so
yeah,
he's freaking the fuck out. But he still puts up a good enough fight for the cavalry to come. And in his panic, he actually tries to take a swipe at. He accidentally swipes at Alan. The talk between them is just, again, Al is just such a scene stealer in this, and it's not just having an actual kid be the voice; it's the lines. It's like,
Yeah.
It really reminds you of just how much more they did into like character building in this anime. Because him telling him, it's like, if you're gonna try and kill me, brother, you're gonna have to try harder than that. And I mean, just like it, you in that moment, you were scared because of not having a body anymore. It's hard for me to feel fear anymore. I want to feel that, brother. I want to get my body back. I want to be able to feel that kind of fear again. And it's just heartbreaking because you see Edward's soul just cracking, and plus Winry was scared out of her mind. I mean, this guy was going to kill her first, and he's going to force Ed to watch it happen.
Yeah.
And yeah,
imagine your first trip to Central and kidnapped by a serial killer.
Yeah, really, and by a person whose food truck she was admiring. It's just, and you can see this too. Like she's trying to, play it off happy-go-lucky that she's okay now, but there's just that scene where her face has that look of a woman who's just like, I almost lost the most precious.
Well, remember, she actually breaks up in tears too. Not just Edward, she does too.
And I mean, she's the one who has to comfort Edward too. So this is again another great parallel between her and Riza. It's just like this is what Riza could have been if she hadn't gone into the military,
Well, and then as well, it was that whole thing at the end too, where they're all talking about Nina, and mentioning, dropping mentions of Scar, and Scar's also watching them in an alleyway, knowing that Edward is still a state alchemist, and realizing you're still on the list. But then other than that, their looks were like, Edward is looking sad because he's thinking about stuff. And Winry, like you said, pointed up happy-go-lucky, but as soon as she looks away, she looks concerned.
And this leads to arguably one of the finest lines in anime I've ever heard. Damn near up there with the speech from Iskander when he summons his noble phantasm the first time, where he's crying on the steps and he tells her, "Today I learned, I'm what is this? Like I'm not a soldier, I'm not a god, I'm just a man. Every soldier who has ever come back from war alive and has lost someone, I guarantee you that thought has been haunting them till the day they die, because you don't see people die in real life. You don't lose loved ones. You don't see pets die. You don't lose family members. And you do not, for one day, not have a thought like that in the back of your head."
Yep.
In that moment, that to me was when Edward really became a soldier, was when he understood the truth of war. We are not gods. We are not soldiers. We're just men.
Yeah, well, remember, he even said, all I wanted to do was scream my lungs out. I didn't even think anyone would come to save me. And then you showed up, Alan. You gave me hope. Like,
and it's
Edward, for all his skill, thought he was still going to die.
And it's funny, too, that we would see that episode on that day, because I downloaded SD Gundam Battle Alliance, for those of you who don't know. And on that day, I unlocked Koaraki and Norris Packard, a.k.a. the pilot of the Goof Heavy Custom and the Easy 8 from 08MS Squad. And if you remember that fight scene, you remember what he says when he knocks out the power on his Easy 8. Because, again, there are some really great moments that really hammer home war is not a game for children. And trust me, Bernie taught that lesson to that kid at the end of 0080. God, I forget. War in the Pocket. That kid is never gonna forget that lesson. I guarantee you.
Settle down, dog.
But other than that, this was such a great episode. Probably one of my favorites. It's going to be really hard to take that throne, trust me. And before anyone asks, of course, we have to get down to our favorite voices. I suppose I'm not going to be shocking anybody if I say, of course, it's going to be Vic number 1, Winry number 2, and Barry number 3. And this was a very hard call, too, but Vic stole this one. He went through the gamut. This is perhaps my single favorite Vic Mignogna performance of all time. Dude, Vic, bro fist, motherfucker. You are God tier. You're right up there with Crispin Freeman now. And Yuri Lowenthal. Seriously, God tier. Winry, Winry did great too. Good lord, man. Those scenes where she's screaming in the meat.
Caitlin Glass, by the way. Kate.
And again, Caitlin Glass, amazing voice actress. There is she's probably in the holy trinity of voice actresses for me. And then of course we got Barry, who
Jerry Jewell.
Best Barry the Chopper. I'm sorry, I loved you in Brotherhood, but this Barry is so much better.
Well, yeah, and then to add to that too, like I said, I know I mentioned it in my short review, but I usually add on to these. Mine was a little different. I went Vic Mignogna or Edward Alphonse, and then Barry, because Edward, Vic Mignogna, Romy Paku, both gave great performances. Both, gave great emotion, especially when they were captured. They thought they were going to die after the fact when he's talking to Alphonse. Just great range. Well, even before then, his arguments with Mustang, his whole thing, his desperation and wanting to find the killer, his stern attitude that alchemists are not terrible people. And that's also another scene that drove Edward nuts. It was like before Edward broke free, Barry said he saw an alchemist in the village killing people. Boom, big, huge fountains of blood splat, and that just drove him nuts before he broke free. So he's struggling with that. Alphonse, Aaron Dismuke, Rie Kugamiya, giving a very humanist performance, a very hopeful performance, wanting to believe in the Philosopher's Stone. And then, Aaron Dismuke showing the hurt when Edward took a swipe at him, but I think he realized that, he was fearful, but it's sort of like the thing of where it's like, damn, it'll take more than that to kill me, brother. And so you can tell it got to him, but he doesn't hold it against, Edward. But still, Alphonse really embodies hope in this one, like a sadness, but yet I have to hold on to hope because we need to fix this. So again, Aaron Dismuke really gave a good performance, as did Rie Kugamiya. And then Barry, Jerry Jewell, Kentaro Ito. Jerry Jewell completely just played a psychotic very well, and a guy who really enjoyed this. And I'll mention it really quick because I know we're approaching a half hour here, and we'll wrap this up really soon. And he basically did a final wrap up, so we'll just leave it here with the voices. I think Jherick will echo the sentiment of mine, but the Japanese was good, but in this episode, especially when they got to Barry, it was rather mid. And again, I'm not crapping on Kentaro Ito and guys who love original voice track, soundtrack. I know there was probably some, respectful Japanese motions taken, and maybe that's how killers act in Japan. Maybe there is a bit of weird respect with what they do. Again, I could be wrong. And please, if you're not liking what I'm saying, please, that's why we have a comment section. Let me know so I can know things. But it's just like, it didn't seem as threatening to me. Then you get to Jerry Jewell and you're like, crap.
I think it's just how the Japanese handle horror, really. I mean, they really have a different perception of both comedy and horror, but I have to agree with him for this, especially considering Barry's based on a more European-style person. Just the English voice acting was so much better. And again, I mean, no disrespect to the Japanese voice actress, but I felt like the English voice actress for Riza really just brings out the total package.
Colleen Klingenbeard,
She can go from serious soldier to just straight up let me comfort you a little and as best I can. It's just such a great performance.
Well, just like how, if we want to add one more to the mix, I'll add again Bradley at Blaylock Hidekatsu Shibata. Hidekatsu Shibata always plays it with a great air of seniority and, seniority but playfulness. But there's something that Ed Blaylock adds to it that, again, it's almost like he's a weird king father figure trying to look out for his kingdom. That's why I like the original too, because, again, maybe there's something weird with, the fear doing this. I always thought, and if any of you've seen this, I'll basically get my thoughts on it right now. I always thought it was Bradley trying to prepare for Mustang because I think Bradley knew he was going to take his throne. I did not know watching this original show that Bradley was going to be a homunculus. I thought it was, they were going to play a political shell game and maybe Bradley knew of what was going on with the Philosopher's Stone, but he was going to use it for political gain.
Well,
I didn't think he was going to be a flipping homunculus, and that's why I'm like, oh man.
I think also, like in both cases, Bradley just wanted to, like see how far they could get towards challenging him before he was going to take them down, because it's almost the same thing with like Palpatine and Vader. Like Palpatine enjoys just watching Vader do his little schemes, just seeing how far he'll get before he has to knock him down a peg.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that thing where it's like, I just want to see how far you can take this before I have to do what I have to do.
Exactly. And I mean, I guess that's pretty much our whole thing. Because like I said, Jherick did a pretty good wrap up on his own, so no help from me. But again, what do you guys think? Do you again like the original show and whatnot, and do you like things? And again, I will say this because I have taken notice that we've gone from 77 subscribers to 75. Now, if you guys have been unsubscribing because I've not been able to do this as fast as I used to, that's just how it is, guys. It's just finding the time, putting it in, because these reviews take time. We need to watch them, process them, take our notes, make sure we have what it is.
Well, so we had like 2 birthdays, we were celebrating.
Well, so. Yeah, 2 birthdays and other things, and just a lot going on. Plus, I'm working all the time. Again, Jherick may be down for the count for various reasons, but I'm ready to go and other things like that. Now, you guys know me. If I haven't done the short review yet, I'll do the short review. Those ones I do without Jherick, but with the ones with Jherick, again, if he's down for the count, got to wait for him. And I know you guys have liked, and no disrespect to my own, but you seem to like the ones with Jherick because he is a bit of a wealth of knowledge, this guy. But again, just saying, I've noticed, and hey, if I'm maybe not doing this fast enough for you, or maybe you discovered me and Jherick aren't your cup of tea, and I noticed that a lot of our current videos have not been getting that many views. If you guys are sort of sick of this, remember I did say several years ago this is what I wanted to do, was with TV shows, especially ones we really like, we will go through episode by episode, because nobody's done that. I'm in for a bit of the long slog for how much of this we can get done or whatnot. But again, I just wanted to mention that really quick, because I have noticed we have lost a few subscribers. I figured we would lose some subscribers at one point, and the white hot streak that me and Jherick were on for a bit was going to take a tank at some point. So I am a little disheartened, but I'm like, hey, it is what it is. You lose people, you gain people. Hey, if we gain more people somewhere down the line, cool. If we stay at 75 now till beyond, or if we lose more people, hey, that's what it is. For all of you who've stayed and are still here, power to you. I appreciate it. But
hey, before we end this, I got a weird question.
What's that, Jherick?
Since he runs a butcher shop, you have to wonder, was Barry going to turn Winry into a Jill sandwich?
Yeah, on that note, we will talk to you guys later, as Jherick is the idiots of idiots. And yeah,
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
I know, I'm just like, dude, I know some people probably check out that too, but I'm like, wow, dude, that's rather lame. And plus her name ain't Jill, it'd be Winry Sandwich, Winry Sandwich, whoa, Winry Sandwich, whoa. But enough of that. See you guys later.
See you later. Oh, man.